Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you've been well. Today we're talking about solar. I have a bunch of solar panels laid out here, and the video is going to be talking about kind of the different types of solar. We're not going to get too technical. I'm not comparing like straight up the power that each of these things are doing because some of them are different, 80 watts, 100 watts. Kind of, the comparison would be hard. The purpose of this video is more along the lines of there are a bunch of different kind of solar panels you can get. Fortunately for me, I have pretty much all of them out there. So I've used them in a lot of different environments, especially as it pertains to overlanding and preparedness and stuff like that. For me, I love solar panels. I love them especially, and I brought a few of these out here, when paired with power banks or solar generators or whatever. I test a bunch of these. I'll keep testing them. This is actually one I'm testing now. I got a few Goal Zeros in the mix. And I just did a video where I talked a little bit about this e-bike here and my desire to kind of integrate charging and batteries and doing all that together with kind of some adventure. Sorry, I know I'm moving the camera around, so apologize to all those with motion sickness out there. But I get a lot of questions about solar. So we're going to be talking about kind of the pros and cons and just kind of overviews of the different types, from super small foldable portable types up to kind of larger, your typical standard glass covered panel. So if you're kind of getting into solar and you're like, wow, I'm overwhelmed at the different kind of solar panels out there and what will work for me, this video is for you. Now, I did get most of these panels for free. Most of them were sent them for free. I'm a gear tester and a beta tester for a lot of companies. And obviously, I have a YouTube channel. So most of these were free. That doesn't mean they're gonna be biased at all, because none of them paid me any money to make this video. And considering pretty much all of them are free, I'm not really inclined to pitch you one way or another. So know that I'm trying to give the most unbiased stuff for all of this. I have affiliate codes for most of them. I'm gonna put them down in the video description below. Clicking those links does help support the channel, but just know this is unbiased and just my take on them because they're all free, so I don't have any skin in the game one way or the other. So I'm gonna give you a quick overview as I walk through here, and again, I'm just doing all this kind of handheld, so I'm sorry in advance. This is a standard, this is a 100-watt panel. This is probably the most popular type of solar panel that exists. It's glass, it's fragile, it's heavy, but these are relatively affordable and pretty decent if you have the right setup for it. This is also glass, but a little bit different in that this is a briefcase style. So I'll fold this out and show you later, but this basically is this folded in half for transportation, but just because it's small for transportation doesn't necessarily mean it's the greatest for like overlanding, because this still will break pretty easy if you toss it in the back of a truck or something. A lot of people make these types of panels. This one I believe is from Renogy. This, a few people make them. Goal Zero makes one. This is from Lion Energy. And then we have this style, which is thinner and lighter and kind of flexible, though you don't want to flex it too much because you can damage these cells and then it's basically no good. But these come in kind of all shapes and sizes. Once you get over 200 watts in this style, it definitely gets expensive fast. This one is from EcoFlow. It's a similar panel to these kind, but this one folds. So similar in that that's kind of like that, but folds. This is kind of like that, but folds. This is one from Jackery, kind of similar again in that it folds as well, though these panel types are a little bit different than those. Then we get into some interesting ones. This one's from OffGrid Trek. This is a solar blanket. So this is 200 watts. To give you reference, all of these other ones were about 100 watt. That one's a little less than 100 watt. This one is double all of those for what you can tell is a very small footprint. This one unfolds. That's why they call it a solar blanket. It kind of folds up and then unfolds. So I'll unfold this in a bit. This is also a solar blanket from Power Film. So these kind of actually probably go a little bit more expensive as you get down the road, because you're going from very basic to kind of more advanced. So this is going to be the most expensive, crazy expensive, out of the price range for most people. But also you can like shoot it, you know, like it can have bullet holes through it and still work. Obviously it'll be reduced output, but this is like, you know, military grade tech kind of stuff. This is kind of the next step down, but very good in its own right. Then we get to kind of these really small kinds. This is actually a 60 watt. It's a little thicker, it's a little deceiving, but 60 watt. This is, I believe, a 28 watt maybe. I'll look it up. And then a 20 watt. So these are going to be more for charging your kind of personal devices, though this is kind of a hybrid, this 60 watt guy here. And so all of these, basically, you probably know what a solar panel does, but all of these harness the power of the sun, take it into the cells, transform that into DC current. Then typically, a lot of times, you'll charge a battery, which is a DC battery. And most of these things are going to be operating on 12 volts. We'll make it easy for you. 12 volts, these are 12 volt batteries. And what you can do from a 12 volt battery is some common DC things that you are familiar with are USB, and then your like cigarette lighter from your car. There are plenty of other kind of DC plugs out there, but those are the DC. So what we're getting is sun energy, DC, into charging a DC battery, and then using the DC ports. That's the most efficient. There's not a whole lot of loss. Then most of these guys will come with an AC port as well. So we're going from direct current to alternating current. Alternating current is what your house runs off of. So these kind of standard plugs that you're used to seeing, this is alternating current. So again, without getting too deep into this stuff, these devices have an inverter that transforms DC power into AC alternating current. So this way you can plug your standard household appliances into this, and then that's how you get sun energy into usable energy. That is that. There are plenty of other ways to hook these into your car battery, because your car battery is essentially that, but you know, not packaged up nice with all the plugs and stuff. But it is a way to store solar energy. I'm just highlighting this because OffGrid actually has a product, kind of a kit, that they call like maybe the Overland kit or the OffGrid kit or something. I'll link it down below. It basically has a charge controller. So it takes the solar, puts it into charge controller, so it basically, in a sense, kind of equalizes that current so it can charge your battery, and then you can just hook these guys up directly to your battery. So then you just use your solar panel and you can charge your car battery, so rather than having to lug around or buy one of those things, you already have one in your vehicle, and then you essentially use your vehicle, and then obviously you'll need an inverter if you want to do AC from your vehicle, or if you just have USB plugs or your cigarette lighter, obviously you can use your car battery like that. So that's kind of a cool device to use that kind of bypasses the need for that, but still lets you get solar into usable energy. Whew, okay, hope I didn't lose too many of you. So that's kind of the high level view of what we're gonna be talking about. Now I'm just gonna go again from left to right and talk about specifically kind of the pros and cons of each of these types of devices. Okay, so your standard hard panel. A lot of these are gonna be monocrystalline. Actually, don't worry about that. There's different types of solar panels, mono, poly, all this other stuff. I'm not gonna dive too deep into that, but they do get into efficiency and what works better on cloudy days, what has more maximum sun, you know, pure sun potential. Some of them do better angled directly at the sun, and some are kind of more okay here. Some can kind of be covered and some can't. But I'll make some quick generalizations. When you have a solar panel, a specific system, you don't want to cover any of it. So for instance, if we had a shadow here, depending on the solar panel, we could cover up this much with shade and the whole panel might not work. Some are better, like the Power Film and the OffGrid Trek over there, do better. You can cover, I think, like 30% of the panels or something, and it'll still work, granted at reduced capacity. But some of these, even if you have shade like this much, it's not gonna work at all. So just note that all panels will do much better when they have pure sun, no shade on them, and some of them won't even work with shade. So what we have here is a hard panel. This is a thick, relatively heavy, kind of has this frame so you can mount it to a variety of stuff, and it's glass. It's heavy, it's fragile. This is what you're gonna see typically used for residential applications and sometimes for like RV type applications, this directly hard mounted to the roof all the time. They're cheap, they're relatively efficient, so they have their place for sure. However, as it pertains to overlanding and vehicle mounting, they're okay if you're planning to mount them on a vehicle. The downsides are if you mount these on a vehicle, unless you have some weird raising platform or whatever, they're gonna be flat. Now, if you see most solar applications like solar farm fields and house applications, the solar panels ideally are angled. So if the sun is over there, you'd want to angle this. So you're never getting really optimum efficiency out of these panels when they're flat mounted to the roof. And they are heavy and they, you know, as I said before, they're kind of fragile. The other thing to consider when hard mounting it to a roof, and not that I'm against hard mounting it to a roof, I have actually one of these types of panels mounted on my Land Cruiser, which I'll get into later. It means that you have to park in direct sun. And it also means that when your vehicle is going, your vehicle is essentially a generator. Your engine is a generator, and you can charge whatever you need and run whatever you need when your vehicle is running. So the solar panel when you're driving is kind of pointless, and it's just added weight up high and whatever. They have their place, and definitely they have their place for ease, for like van lifers and RV and stuff. That is their dedicated adventure vehicle, and you just put them on the roof and set it and forget it, and you have a lot of time where you're just parked somewhere for a week or whatever. These panels are good. Same with those, they kind of have a similar effect. But for kind of the overlander, weekend warrior type, maybe not the best, because a lot of times when you're parking your vehicle, you want to park it in the shade. If you have a rooftop tent or something, you might want to park it under some trees or in some cover. And when you're doing that, this, if it's hard mounted to your vehicle, is not getting sun exposure, versus some of these other portable options you can move away and move wherever you need to. The other thing is, as it comes to preparedness and survival and stuff, these other portable options, especially when paired with something like this, you can use in a power outage, you can use in a grid down scenario, you can use in the end of the world. So these are a little bit more flexible in that they don't just have kind of vehicle-centric or RV applications. The further down we get kind of this way, the more it's kind of tied to something, your house or your vehicle. So that's that. Then we have this, which is kind of cool, which is a foldable option. Let me unfold it here for you real quick. So this briefcase guy unfolds, and then typically they'll have legs that'll have a little bit of adjustment. This is pretty cool because then you can set it out like its own kind of solar farm. And this is not a bad option. The price isn't too crazy, but it's pretty heavy, and even when folded up into briefcase style, it does still take up a lot of space. The main thing I don't like about it is that it's pretty fragile. These break pretty easy. Once they're broken, they're done. So this is maybe like if you live in an apartment or something and want something that really folds up small, or you're gonna use it very rarely and you're gonna kind of pack it up carefully to use for overlanding or whatever, it has its place. It has its place. Not my first pick, not my favorite, but it's worth highlighting. Then we have these styles, which are kind of flexible, but most of them you can't flex too far. There's variances in how much they can handle. But for the most part, try not to flex them much, because you can definitely damage the cells inside of there, and then your panel's junk. So even though they can flex, don't let it mislead you too much, because you can't, bend them in half or something. So these kind of panels are similar to those in that people mount these to their roofs. They're lighter, they're obviously much more low profile here. They're very thin, and they do have grommets, so you can use them for other applications. On my Land Cruiser, I use double-sided Velcro, so this is basically Velcroed to the top of my GFC. These are kind of cool. They're typically not quite as efficient as the glass counterparts, but depending on which one you get, they can be. So this will have all of the cons of that as it pertains to, it's really tied to your vehicle. You can't park in the shade. It's kind of worthless when you're driving anyway, yada, yada, yada. But two kind of options in that regard. And then we get here, which is basically a foldable version of that. A similar panel in that these are very thin, they're kind of flexible, but again, you know, try not to bend them that much. But you can see the footprint here of this, I believe 80 watt is about the same as the 100 watt. And something like this does have the grommets and stuff. Whenever they fold, they're not really intended to be a permanent mount solution. Though some of these panels, like the Boulder 100, the Goal 01, you can permanently mount, but for the most part, when it folds like this, you're not gonna wanna Velcro it to the top of a roof or something. So these ones are more for portable type use, and they're okay. This one, which I really like a lot actually, I think is a pretty good bang for the buck, is the Jackery Solar Saga 100. You can tell has a pretty similar footprint when opened up. This one doesn't have any feet or legs or anything, so this is really meant to put on the roof of your car, or on the hood, or on your windshield or whatever. And that's okay, assuming you have something. But if you wanted to move it away from your vehicle, you're either laying it on the ground, which this panel really isn't optimized to do that, but it will work. All of these panels will work on the ground. Some of them better, like the Power Film and the OffGrid Trek, will do better when flat on the ground versus some of these guys, but they'll all do good if you can angle them towards the sun. This one, the cool thing about it is it does have legs built in to the back, so you can pop the legs out and you can angle it to the sun. So pretty cool option that works pretty well for me. Then we get into some pretty interesting ones. I did a whole video kind of on the Power Film. If I remember, I'll link to it up in the left corner. But the OffGrid Trek, I've been using the other one, the digital woodland one of this for a bit. This is actually their new one. It's 200 watt, and it's not multicam, but it's like similar. It's not, you know, official multicam, but it's a similar, you know, similar multicam vibe. So this one is about like that, and about, you know, a little smaller footprint than like a laptop, but obviously thicker. So let me unfold this one for you. All right, good thing I have all this space. We're getting a little out of control here. So anyways, this is the OffGrid Trek 200 watt blanket. So you gotta remember, all of these are basically 100 watts. This is 200, so this is double. And this is what it looks like unfolded. So you can tell there's a bunch of little squares here. This is gonna be this is a very efficient one. And this one as well. This one I think is 23.5% efficiency. And again, I told you I wouldn't get too into numbers, but that's a very high efficiency rating. And efficiency rating is important. It's not the end all be all. I think usability of the specific system and how you wanna use it is the most important thing. But you're always gonna wanna go for a higher efficiency solar panel for a variety of reasons. Typically the higher efficiency ones can handle being shaded a little more than these other ones that might stop if they're shaded at all. But also, more often than not, depending on where you are anyway, you're gonna have some overcast weather, you're gonna have some clouds, you're not gonna have perfect sun angles and stuff like that. So all across the board, higher efficiency panel is going to handle that better. If the sun is at a very low angle and you're not able to get the solar panel angled to be perpendicular to it, a higher efficiency panel is going to give you more power, basically. So these, again, kind of the cheaper you go, also the lower efficiency they are in general. And kind of the more expensive you go, the higher efficiency they are. So this is a very efficient system, and this is what it looks like unfolded. So what we have here is grommets again, like you see in a lot of these things, but it's a pretty big thing. So a lot of times people are just using these on the ground. And what's crazy here, this is 200 watts and this is only 120 watts. Different technology. Again, this one, you know, I would be comfortable stepping, I mean, these ones can handle quite a bit. I don't want to subject them to more abuse than they need to, but this is going to be your most bomb-proof setup. Also, just heads up, very expensive. This is pretty expensive as well. This is a quality piece. Again, kind of getting more expensive as we go. But 200 watts, the nice thing about this is it's sized almost like most car windshields. So car windshields are naturally angled, depending on where you park. Again, I said you're not probably gonna park in the sun, but if for some reason you are, a car windshield is a great place to put this if you angle your car towards the sun, and it has the secondary benefit of kind of acting like a sunshade. So this here is kind of the setup, kind of what I would consider the ultimate all-arounder setup, where you can use this with your vehicle, or you can just use it on the ground, or you can use it at home. Use a solar panel. 200 watt is a nice size to charge some of these bigger batteries especially. This is the Jackery 1000, and this is the Dometic fridge freezer. This is DC, so most efficient way to get sun energy into battery, into a common kind of power thing. So obviously use that for overlanding or camping, or just as an extra fridge or freezer, or grid down or long-term power outage, but you need to keep something frozen or refrigerated, whatever that be. This is kind of the go-to setup that I would go to. If possible, I'd always opt for a bigger unit. This is the 1000, but they get bigger than that, because it's not sunny all day. Sometimes it's cloudy, obviously, and then obviously you have night. So the more sun energy you can store, this will get you by for longer periods of no sun or poor conditions or whatever. So if you have the space and the ability and the funds to buy a bigger one, I usually would. Having said that, smaller ones are nicer because they're lighter and they're cheaper, and if you only need them for a night or whatever, they work all right. But if I were to just get one, I'd probably go 1000 watts or bigger on the battery, 200 watts or bigger on the solar, and then obviously fridge freezer of choice. Speaking of, I did a video on the Dometic stuff a while back, and that was right around kind of Corona time, and they had crazy shortages on everything. Everyone was buying these things up, and then supply chain was all borked. Now these are back in stock. So again, I have a code, coupon code, saves something on their website. I think gives you free shipping. Definitely check these out. They've been great for me, and yeah. So very cool option. This one's actually, the new ones anyways, I'm not sure about the old ones. The new ones have this is what you connect it to. There's all kinds of different adapters to charge other stuff. Actually, let me talk about that real quick. Most of these kind of more standard panels are gonna have what's called MC4. So these are MC4 connectors. You'll have a positive and negative end. Most of these will not take MC4 straight up, so you'll need an adapter. Some of them come with an adapter, some of them don't. Some things like this is the Anderson, so it comes with a little Anderson that's a little more common in these kind of things. And then this is really the kind of bomb-proof Anderson power pole connector. So there's all kinds of adapters. So you basically get out from here and then you adapt it to whatever you need to use it for, and that's that. This, sorry, I got distracted, has USB Type-C right there. So you can both charge your generator or whatever, and then you could charge your cell phone or your laptop or whatever from the USB Type-C. It does also have just 2 regular USBs. So you can charge a variety of things from one thing. This isn't the only thing that offers that. I think this has a USB as well, but Type-C is kind of the new hotness, and it's cool that that has it. So then we get into the power film here. Very big footprint. This is the most different of the systems. I'm not gonna get into it too much, but I did do a whole video on it. And this is priced out of most people's range. But if you want kind of like the most hardcore military grade solar panels you can get, this is kind of them. Just be sure you know how massive it is though. So just to keep things in perspective, 100 watts, 200 watts, 120 watts. Watts isn't the end all be all. Again, efficiency definitely matters. Okay, so then we get into kind of these smaller guys, and so I'll open these up for you real quick. Okay, so here we go. This is the Suwałki and this is 60 watt. This is kind of a cool system. It's not very efficient. I don't think it's the highest quality, but it does have the advantage of having some adapters. And this 60 watt panel actually has an Anderson connector, so you can charge something and you can convert it. So you can charge one of these with this pretty easily and straightforward. And they also have some USB plugs and stuff, so you charge USB. These are for the most part just charging USB. So if you have a little USB power bank or a USB input into a battery or whatever, these guys are gonna charge that. This one here, which is OffGrid Trek. Again, OffGrid Trek's doing really cool stuff. The guy over there, Reen, I've had a few phone calls with him. He really knows his stuff. He's from Canada. This is another one, multicam. So this is 28.5 watts. So we'll just round up to 30 basically and say this is about half of that. This one, I think Goal Zero has probably upgraded this product. This is like one of the first solar panels I got, I don't know, eight years ago or something. This is a 20 watt panel. And again, these two are good for charging USB. OffGrid Trek, if you did want to get into the game and support a good company, I think they give me a coupon code. Again, I probably have some coupon codes with these other guys, but they just gave me one because I specifically asked them to. And part of the reason is because they sell kits. So like you can get this Delta, which is a really incredible power bank, in a kit with like that blanket. So paired with that goes really well. So if you just want to go to kind of a one-stop shop and get everything in one go, one checkout, OffGrid Trek's cool. And again, I have a coupon code. I think it's like 10% off, which is pretty rad because the price on this stuff really adds up. Whew. Okay, so yeah, this is some stuff I'm going to be experimenting with. I've been using them for a long time for overlanding and camping and kind of just general preparedness, because if grid goes out, world ends or whatever, it's great to be able to charge devices and still have some tech around. So in addition to actually using them for everyday use, maybe using them when you have a power outage to keep your fridge running, or if you have a CPAP or something, there's a lot of really practical uses for these. Basically anything you can use a generator for. Granted, it's kind of smaller scale depending on your generator size, but a lot of practical uses, but also checks the preparedness box really well, ties into overlanding, which is awesome, and then ties in somewhat to my new bike, maybe, depending on if I want to nerd out too much, to basically take the sun energy and charge the bike up on multi-day trips and stuff like that. So anyways, again, I'm going to link to all this stuff down below. I try to make this unbiased as possible because, again, I kind of work with most of these companies. Most of this stuff was free, but again, nobody paid me to make this video. I make money off of affiliate links. So if you like that one, buy it through my link. If you like that one, buy it through my link. If you like that one, buy it through my link. And that will help out the channel if you find this video interesting or informative. And definitely if you did find the video interesting or informative, hit that thumbs up button, comment down below, let me know how I'm doing, get subscribed to the channel, turn on that notification, all that stuff. Really appreciate it. And if you like this stuff, I appreciate you watching. If you didn't like it, I appreciate you watching. But let me know if you want more videos or dive deeper, or you want to see like use case scenarios for any specific stuff. Sorry, my microphone battery died as I was filming a bunch of stuff, but I would have wasted just 5 minutes more of your time. So I think we'll just cut it off there. Thanks for watching this video. I think I'm probably repeating myself, but if you have questions or anything, leave them down below. Get subscribed to the channel if you're not already. And again, I'm gonna link everything down below. I have some coupon codes and stuff. Always appreciate you using those when you can. And until next time, guys, take care.